You're all good. Don't worry about it.
There you go.
Perfect. There we go. Okay.
Yay.
Sorry.
No, you're so good. Okay. Um, let me quickly do something really quick. All right. That should make sure that the recording actually has you in front of it. Okay, cool. So, hi everyone. My name is Ankita. I'm the AANHPI Caucus Chair for the High School Democrats of America. I'm so excited to be here today to introduce Maria Cervania of the North Carolina state. Tar Heel State, right?
Yes.
Um, so let me quickly pull up the little bio I have for her. Okay, let me find that really quick. Um, you were earlier from California, right? I thought that was kind of cool.
Right. Yeah, I was born in Oakland, raised in Sunnyvale, near
Okay, really cool.
Stanford. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So Representative Cervania is a Filipina representative representing the 41st District of North Carolina. When she moved to North Carolina very recently, she was the first AAPI elected to the Wake County Board of Commissioners and the first Filipino elected to office in North Carolina. For her, it's all about health policy a lot of the times, as her job outside of being a representative is as an epidemiologist, which I'd love to hear more about very soon. And we're super excited to have her on today. Representative Cervania, would you like to talk about like yourself and your background and what got you into running for office?
Sure. So, like I said, I was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area, and during the time, there were so many really inspiring people, even as an elementary school kid, who are involved in politics at the time. I don't know if you're familiar with Harvey Milk. He was one of the first LGBTQ council people, or what they call oh my goodness, superintendents. But it's a city council person of San Francisco. And during that time too, when he was in office, the first Asian American, the first single mom, the first African American, uh, were all elected into office to serve San Francisco. It was really inspiring. Also, to the fact that Dianne Feinstein, who is an icon in the Democratic Party, was also serving during that time. Uh, I, as Ankita mentioned, I am an epidemiologist, biostatistician. I always had been a scientist, and I graduated from actually Berkeley in biology, and then went to grad school in epidemiology. It was never in my plan to be a politician or an elected official. But always as a hobby or just a passion, it was always important to me to serve the community in some way. And a lot of my advocacy work is more in the social determinants of health. So homelessness, which has a tie with health, right? So housing, affordable housing, jobs, just general quality of life. I fast forward, I went to grad school in Chicago, moved to Arizona, and then well, actually in between all that, I lived in Austin, Texas, and then moved to North Carolina about 10 years ago. Even then, I didn't think of being an elected official. But what happened was we really needed a light in at my neighborhood, and a lot of people were getting into accidents, especially people who were just getting their license. And that turned into people saying, you need to run for office, because it took 6 years to even get a solution. And being on the inside now, being an elected official, everything is much quicker to do. Get funding, you're at the table to make decisions. And the extra special part of this too is that I represent the largest NHPI population in North Carolina. And so that has a lot of responsibility. And plus, I always believe in succession and trying to like what we're doing here. Like, I know I'm not going to be an elected official forever in my position. And I always encourage people who are in high school, people who are even seniors to run for office because your voice is important. Um, yeah. So that's, I could talk about so many things, but that's pretty much the synopsis of everything.
Yeah. I think from your bio, I read you were also like an army brat.
I'm a Navy brat, actually.
Navy,
Yeah.
Navy brat, Navy brat, Navy brat, even better.
My dad served in the US Navy for 24 years, and then he served in the Veterans Administration for 20. So, yeah, luckily he was in the Navy and I didn't have to move all over the place. We just sort of moved around in the Bay Area. But yeah, still very much the discipline of being in a military family and the commitment too. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So how our first question for you would probably be, what challenges do you feel like progressive candidates face in running in like the Southeast, and what strategies have worked for you?
So the biggest challenge is to be seen. Um, like I've had to in a lot of places, in a lot of situations, as we're all growing up, a lot of times we have to assimilate into maybe not showing our Asianness as much. And that happened a lot when I was growing up. And in a lot of ways, when I've been involved in politics or running for office, uh, most of my, like, even though I have the highest AANHPI, which is about 40%, 60% is still um, non-minority. So the biggest challenge sometimes is running and having people accept or acknowledge that we need people of color to be at the table. Uh, it's a little more understood in my district because it's mostly blue, it's mostly Democrat. But now that I've won and have my office for 2 terms, it's extremely different and difficult in the North Carolina General Assembly because most people in lots of ways never seen an Asian American person. Like you mentioned, I'm the first ever AANHPI woman to be elected, along with my colleague. We were the first women ever elected in history. And my colleagues often mix us up. We look nothing alike, but they call me Representative Lou. They call her Representative Cervania, just because when I believe they never interacted with people of ethnicity like ours, and in ways they don't want to to understand the differences. I take it as an opportunity. I often speak on the floor about um I'm going to speak on Ramadan and Eid like this month. I speak on Nepalese, like first in flight, first in height, it's like the commonality of our North Carolina and Nepal. I talk about Lunar New Year. I mean, I just to make sure that people see us. That's been the biggest challenge and opportunity.
To be like the sort of spokesperson, but then it also gives you the responsibility of you're now responsible for almost over 40 countries, and they're each and every single tradition. It's
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
it's definitely something you consider when you're also chairing something like this, because you're not just chairing it for like the Indian American people in your caucus or the Chinese American people in your caucus. Like, you're talking about everyone. So
Exactly. You totally hit the nail on the head. I mean, like it's we have to make sure that people know like we are here. but we're not a monolith, right? The beauty of like the intricacies of each one of the beauty, the uniqueness of each one of the countries has to be celebrated. And at the same time, there's so little of us in the southern states that we have to coalesce, or with numbers it's power, and we have to work together. And a lot of us come, even though we may come from different countries, we have the same journey in a lot of ways, right? So yeah, more so than any other people.
It makes sense because while we're so diverse, we're also very interconnected in a lot of different ways.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what have you said, what would you say that as I mean, a trailblazer of your own, um, what strategies have worked for you during your campaign to connect to different people, whether they be ANHPI or not?
I believe that, so at one point in time, I thought when I first started running that I needed to be a politician, super polished, very thorough, and very succinct in how I speak. But my husband actually started noticing that it's like, you're not having fun with this, and you're actually much more um, not happy running for office. And he told me, just be yourself. And I'm not polished, and I'm not, not always all put together and everything. And I think that resonated with a lot of people. I've always been an advocate and an activist, so I kept that. I thought I had to put that away, but I still am at protests and still doing that work, and essentially just like being true to myself and not changing who I am. And with that, that resonated with a lot of the people who I represent. I'm also very accessible. So a lot of my constituents have my personal phone number. They have either they're friends with me on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and everywhere else, Snapchat, wherever you can find me. And I answer. And we try our best, even though like I'm sorry that you all wrote me on my campaign, but I'll give you my personal information so you can connect with me better. And so that's helped a lot. I don't do this like most people because um I think that I wouldn't want a representative that was too polished, and yeah, I think people tease me like you're a little too brat, right? And I think that's what ended up a little messy, a little not too all together all the time, but still having a lot of fun. And this is what I encourage everybody to do.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not having fun, what's the point of doing it anyway, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, so one of my next questions for you would probably be what would you say is the biggest policy slash public health challenges facing North Carolina today?
Well,
We
oh
we
my
can
God.
split it up if it's a lot in one question.
No, no, like so, you know, a lot of things people don't realize we do a lot in the state, and we have to respond to what is lacking when it comes to the federal government. Um, Not lacking, but we have a responsibility. Even when we have when we had Biden, like we still had our responsibility to do things. But now that we have President Trump, there could be some of our programs like for kids, for families, for education are are 50 to 90%, 100% federal funded. If that gets cut, we have to find the money to make sure that our schools continue and that we provide health care and health insurance, or health care and quality of life programs if they cut it all off. And it's stressful because we don't want to see people fail. Like we don't want people to lose their job. We don't want people to have a lower quality of life. That affects children, seniors, like I say, working parents, everyone. And some people, be it at the federal level, even the state level, local level, don't understand the big picture. This is the biggest challenge. More local to home, DEI, I think I a little bit touched base with that. Um, yeah, like with Ishan's representative, Representative Echeverria, I sit next to him in oversight, and he had said in one of our meetings, do you have a list of your DEI hires? Because when we pass the anti-DEI bill, we'll know who to fire. And it's like, you don't do that. That's 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 insane. I mean, and there's not an understanding that DEI is everyone. DEI is women. DEI are rural people, students, like people with disabilities, like it's great. LGBTQ. I mean, like everyone, people of color. So, yeah, that's been the biggest challenge so far. And yeah, it's a lot.
That sounds horrible to hear. Just
Yeah.
like, oh, well, so you would have never hired them had they not had those policies in place.
And the thing is, though, they would have still been hired because DEI is
Yeah.
not that you have to pick an African American person or a woman over anyone else. DEI in hiring is that you encourage people to apply who didn't think that they should apply or they didn't think the opportunity was there available to them. At the end of the day, you're still interviewing on merit and you're still choosing whoever is the best qualified. You're not told to hire the woman. You're not told to hire the Asian person or the African American person. It's just opening the opportunity and having people know that there's an opportunity. This is in terms of hiring. But in terms of, high school, right? Like, or I don't know, like college, these programs help with mental health. They like help with, college acceptance, transitioning into college. A lot of students, like, we're Asian kids. It's like there's a different concept of school. Like I don't know if your parents are like this, but I grew up, I either needed to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. I was not encouraged to do sports. I was not encouraged to do after school activities. I was just supposed to come home, practice my piano, and become a doctor, then study. The thing is, though, we know that to get into college, you have to do everything and everything else, right? And so I knew that. So I ran varsity track as a freshman. I was, in orchestra. I was in student government because I knew if I were to get accepted in school, I couldn't just go home and get, a 5.0 average. Um, this is difficult to to try to translate that into college. Also in college, I was everything in high school. I got into every college I applied to, and I thought like, yeah, like, I'm the, best. But when you get to college, you're one of like 30,000, like 60,000 of the best. And that was difficult too. And so DEI helps in so many ways. Um, and people don't realize that. They only see it as their narrative.
That makes like total sense. I mean, as like high schoolers, it's always like this pressure to have everything under control. And it's like, there is never going to be a more stressful time than when you're in high school.
Yeah, and I hate to break it to y'all, in college too, the first 2 years of college was really tough. Um, yeah, high school, there's points in time, right? Eighth grade, sophomore to junior year, maybe a little bit of senior year high school were really tough. And in so many ways, if you don't do the right thing in high school, like it just sets you behind or ahead when it comes to your career. But always know you got to give yourself that space and grace because even though you're going through a tough time, um, so many people change their careers in college. So many people like discover, wow, I'd rather be an epidemiologist. Like that was like such a failure because to my parents, because I wasn't like a full doctor. I went into public health. And even my professors in graduate school were like, no, you need to go to med school now. And it's like, no, I don't. I wanna do what I'm doing. I want to have a family. I want to get married. Like, and it was not what people around me wanted me to do. And there's a lot of programs to help with that. And a lot of them are under DEI. So yeah, that was like an intermix of different advice and different. Anyway, I digress, and maybe I don't digress, but yeah, that's probably enough of a question or answer to that.
No, oh my gosh, no worries. Um, all right, so here's my next question. Have you seen a gap between lawmaking and policymaking and actual like scientific knowledge being put into actual legislature stuff?
Oh my
Like,
gosh. So I was lucky the first time I was elected, it was during COVID. And
mm,
thank goodness, like all my colleagues trusted in my science. Like for an epidemiology, the pandemic was our Super Bowl. It's like a once in a lifetime, like you get books come into real life and now you get to do it. Um, as a commissioner, it was so much easier. We were all pretty much like-minded and we were all Democrats. And so everybody's expertise was respected. Now, I mean, I still like we're endemic in COVID. But, I have one of my colleagues, he just dropped out of college to become a legislator. And he has a bill to make it illegal to get vaccines, um, get a measles vaccine before you go to college. And measles was eradicated in 2000 in 20 like in the year 2000. But now we're having people get it and dying. We have one like in West Texas where I used to live. I used to work for the health department in Texas. There's a little county that has 189, 159 people who have measles and one young girl, a 6-year-old girl who died. And it's because most of them weren't vaccinated. And their community is not unique in not wanting to vaccinate after all of this is that happened in COVID. And before that, it is tough inside the North Carolina legislature because real estate agents are making health policy because they're in the majority. And when I speak on nuclear fission or COVID or gender affirming care, like this is what I do every day. I'm a scientist. And they're like, no. And it's crazy. Yeah.
that yeah, I've heard that like there's just like a complete disconnect in the house when it comes to that. So I wanted to ask if it was the same in North Carolina, but I guess it is.
It totally is. You're like, I don't know if it's the simple things, right? It's like even math is like, how are you not understanding math? Like, if if you have less money coming in, and you think you can pay for everything. No, it doesn't make sense. You're cutting all the taxes, but we have to pay for all these different things. Or, I mean, some of you are probably seniors or juniors who are taking calculus. Like, people don't know calculus. No one knows calculus, but like, they're doing percentage change as an addition problem. And I'm like, I'm sitting there on the floor going, no, percentage change is a calculus problem. It's a rate of change. They're like, oh my gosh, you're too like Democrats, they're just way too smart. And the thing is that this is like common knowledge. So for us, and there's not a trust in that. Like, anyway, I could go on and on about the frustration.
Oh my gosh. No, that sounds exhausting.
It
But for
is.
the for the next question, I'd like to pass it on to Ishan to ask.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a couple questions for you too. But first, I just want to thank you for being here because it means a lot to us for you to be here. But
Well,
yeah,
it's a lot for me to be invited. Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you. So I volunteer, and this prosecutor told me, like, in a courtroom, you win over people with logic. And my
Mm.
dad, who likes to say, is that Trump supporters don't have any sense of logic. There's no sense of logic in what's being said by the current administration. So my question was, how do you effectively caucus with people that don't have any perception of logic when you're such a highly educated individual? Like you just said, the calculus thing, how do you like communicate to people who just don't understand what our world is built on?
So, they often say that Democrats are just so cerebral and intellectual, but there's still space for simplicity in messaging. They always also say that Democrats are really bad at messaging because we get all in the weeds about all the different things. But there's a lot of strength and a lot of of good in explaining things in a very simple, relatable way. I know for me, being involved in the Democratic Party, it's never like, and I try to emphasize this, it's never about me. Even as an elected official, it's not about me. It's about what is important to you and how can I communicate that the best with you. And so with with people in the community, I listening is really strong, like a powerful thing too. My Republican constituents, and I have a lot of Republican voters who vote for me because I find the commonality of what we have, and I don't get super cerebral about it. Like, with my colleagues, it's the same way. We can't affect change if we're constantly like adversarial. There's times that I am like, I don't vote with them ever. At the same time, I try to find bills that we can make laws that we can work together with. And and that's been really powerful and important, not only for my colleagues, but for my constituents in my district and in North Carolina too. Um, but it can be tough. Um, and it's upsetting sometimes. And to be honest with you, I'll go to my office and I'm even on the floor sometimes like tearing up because I can't believe we just took away the rights of kids, students, women, everyone else. But you just got to keep going and you just got to find that common ground where you can make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, especially like living in a red area, I definitely see like the frustration, especially, reaching out. I've seen, it was on Young Sheldon actually, the TV show. There was the father, he made a joke once, what do we do in Texas? it was something about cowboy hats, something about football, and then something about we never vote for Democrats. And that's kind of an attitude that unfortunately is still prevalent throughout the South, I think.
Yeah.
And it's something real in North Carolina too. And I think that a lot of people, especially, are getting harmed by voting Republican and getting harmed by those very same policies. So, how would you recommend for our new generation of students? How would you recommend we assemble and we like engage in activism, especially in a state like North Carolina in the South, and especially in a time such as the Trump administration?
Yes. So there's a small grouping of us, and I wish more of us would say it, that every day is an election day. And what we do goes towards that. You all are in a position where that you need to live it. Like you need to live the activism, the morality, the efforts that you are doing every day. I try to do that. I see a lot of my colleagues in my party, even in the other party, they just show up after Labor Day to ask for your vote and ask for money. And if you're doing this right, it's not about that. I I recommend that you all find what gives you joy and gives you passion and be in that space. Learn about the space. Ask people who are in that space, leading in that, n- like to mentor you, to shadow them. Don't ever be afraid of doing anything that you want to do, and don't let anyone tell you you can't. Like this is the good thing about what my parents did for me, even though they wanted me a doctor. They also like believed in that I, as a girl, as a young girl, could be a doctor. I mean, we're in so many in spaces that that would not be accepted or exist. So I went through life that way, and I encourage you all to do it too. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do something, because a lot of people will say it. They said it to me too. And this is where you gather and you help each other in that space too. Um, it can be really competitive. You know, we're Asian and we're going to high school, we want to go to the best colleges. Um, but it's not a zero-sum game. Just because you're successful doesn't mean the person next to you can't be either. Um, Yeah, that's a lot of like things to say, but yeah, just live it. Live live it and uplift others, because that's actually gonna be what's gonna make and drive change for all of us.
That was a great answer.
Thank
Thank you. And I just had one last question for you. So I know you spoke just about colleges just now, and you spoke a lot about DEI earlier. And so a related issue that I've seen in North Carolina, there's a lot of, in North Carolina, I think education's a big thing. Especially I've grown up here all my life. I've seen education's a pretty big thing. I think we spend like a lot of our budget, also a state budget, on education. We have great education here in North Carolina, especially post-secondary education. So what would you say is the most critical issue or threat to education in North Carolina?
Funding. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but I think like unfortunately it takes money to give really good quality education. Um, not me, but our entity just passed the unlimited, uncapped opportunity scholarship bill last biennium. It equates to almost $1 billion a year in funding education for only 10% of students. We're responsible for all 190%, 80 to 90% go to public schools. And we just diverted $1 billion to private schools. There's repercussions to that. And but the repercussions are so much. It's like feeding into a narrative on what kind of education a person receives at a private school, what students are receiving as education in a public school. There's so many, like, I used to teach in a classroom. I barely could eat in that half an hour, that they gave us at lunch. There's this narrative that, we're teaching, divisiveness and all these different things. You all as students need to let adults know, no, we're learning about math, we're learning about biology, we're learning about the classics. I mean, there's not enough time in the day otherwise for a teacher. That needs to come out. And with money too, we're losing awesome teachers because they're not revered, they're not respected as professionals. And like, you can't graduate, you can't learn without a teacher in the classroom. And so there's so many things I could talk about when it comes to public education. But I think it would be amazing if you all spoke out towards it. You are in the thick of it. You are the recipients of what we do. So in terms of taking away money, taking away programs for you, taking away teachers, I mean, yeah, like, and it doesn't look like we're gonna get, I don't want to be like a downer, but until we get a change in the math when it comes to the number of people who think like us in there, it's going to keep going in a bad direction.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for answering my questions. And I'd love to talk to you afterwards about the activism for education. That's something that I've been interested with, and I work with another group in North Carolina that's interested in this. So I'd love to speak to you afterwards. But anyways, thank you so much, and I'll turn it over to Ankita, our chair now, to finish some more questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ishan. I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Yeah. It sounds great, as I've said. I think I have like one more question for you. Would be specifically, I don't plan on going into public health, but I have a lot of friends who do. What would you say is like your, like, I guess, biggest advice for somebody looking into getting to public health and advocacy?
So it does help to have a science background, but in everything, like, you don't have to be a scientist to be a doctor or a public health person. Uh, a lot of my colleagues who came from liberal arts, it really made a difference, right? So I know, don't tell your parents I told you this, but major in what you want to major in. Um, you're going to have some basis, and it makes it a lot easier. But depending on what you want to do in public health, like if you want to go into health policy, you don't need to, have all as much science as I did as a young as a student. And if you want to be an epidemiologist, it's probably good to have some health background and science and biology. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's so many aspects of public health that you just find your niche. I mean, environmental is huge. Those were my favorite classes. Those are the ones that I did the best in. And, you know, it's good to have some science, like use a lot of calculus and physics in there too. But it was a road. Like, I didn't know I wanted to be a public health person until I realized, oh, this brings in everything that I care about in the future. Um, yeah, like I minored in demography too. And so um actuarial, population, health, population, like demographics, that led me into like what I majored in grad school. Um, yeah, and some of my colleagues also double majored in getting their MBA, and some of them got their JD at the same time. So just make it what you want. And there's a lot of programs out there that will suit your public health interests and others as well. And let me know, like connect your friends with me, and I'd love to talk about what would be cool. Like, um, when I was going to school or applying for grad school, I really wanted to do AANHPI work. Uh, and I flew out to Hawaii because typically there's not that standard. You get an interview and like I found a professor who was doing the things that I wanted to do, and I flew out there and I spent the day with him. And that's probably the other thing too when it comes to public health in graduate school. It's not the typical application situation. I recommend, and even as an undergrad, I recommend that you find out who is doing what you want to do. Um, what professors, what research teams are doing what you want to do, and you go there and talk to them. That's how you usually get into grad school. It's sort of a networking. You still have to fill in, do the GRE and apply. Um, but that is how professors pick you, is that they see that you have their same passion and they see the potential in you. And that's how I recommend in any career really to do as well.
Thank you. Is there anyone from like the general attendance who would want to ask Representative Cervania a question?
Hi, I have a question. Let me turn my camera on, sorry.
No problem.
Hi, Congresswoman. My name's Roop. I'm from Washington State.
Yeah.
I jotted down this question. Oh, so you mentioned in the beginning how you never really set out to be a politician or, an elected official. And a lot of us here, like I don't want to speak for everyone, but I guess at least I do, want to go into this field, I guess, or work in politics when we're older. So my question to you is, what do you wish you had learned or done or like participated in when you were younger to prepare you for the position you're in now?
Well, everything actually I did, even if it wasn't in the traditional sense, prepared me. I think actually like being not a poli-sci major and a lawyer, well, granted, we're making laws. It's really ideal that you're a lawyer. Um, but I think like even if you end up changing majors or wanting to do something different than the traditional political science lawyer route, will still be beneficial as an elected official. Um, I will say that it was really influential on me to be able to work with people who were like, so I got to work with my mayor of the town where my high school was located. So I during that time, I went to a high school in Cupertino, California, and as many of you who own an iPhone know, that's where Apple is based. And and during that time, the mayor of Cupertino was negotiating Apple having their headquarters there. And I was able to experience that. To fast forward to here in North Carolina, when Apple decided to have their second headquarters here, I was able to bring up that experience, and it helped at some level bring that second headquarters here in North Carolina. So don't ever think that there's a traditional stepping stones towards politics. It goes back to like, do what you enjoy. All of it will lead to the right place in representing your people when you are a representative.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Congresswoman.
You're welcome.
If there are any more questions, feel free to go now, but If not, I'd love to take like a quick little Zoom photo. We usually do one of those, and we use them for a newsletter. Um, so if everyone would be comfortable with turning on their cameras, I'd appreciate it. Okay, good.
And take me out of spotlight so we all could be together.
Oh, I got that. It's
Okay, good, good.
you can switch to the other tab and it has everyone on there.
Okay, good.
All right, cool. Achatan, you good? Okay. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on.
A pleasure's mine. And like, where is actually everybody located?
Yeah, we could do that really quick. So I'm from Georgia. I can pass it off to Zed.
From New York.
New York.
Put off to
Pass
Ishan.
Oh,
Ishan.
sorry. I'm here from Concord, North Carolina.
Yeah. I know
Ishan,
Tanrup
pass it to
said,
someone.
yeah, Tanrup said that you're from Washington State. My mentor, Eileen Cody, she was a legislator in Washington State. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
No, I'm not sure. I've heard the name, but that's so cool that you have a connection here.
Yeah, if you want me to connect you to her too, that would be great. And then she can connect you with somebody who's currently serving, hopefully in the state legislature there.
Yeah,
If you're
we worked
interested.
with Marilyn Strickland for an event for Black History Month. So that was really cool with the Black Caucus.
I'm treasurer of the Black Caucus. Don't think like it's all like so.
Wait, at the North Carolina State Legislature?
I am probably going to be chair of the AANHPI caucus. So, Ankita, I'm like, channeling you in my aspiration. But yeah, they voted me in as treasurer of the Black Caucus, which is such an honor. This is like what intersectionality is all about, right? Like, so.
No, that's cool. I love that. I'll pass it off to Achatan to introduce where he's from.
Yeah.
I'm from Princeton, New Jersey.
There you go.
And I'll pass it to Junia. Has Junia, have you spoken yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and my parents actually both went to UIC as well. So
Yeah. Go Flames. That's awesome.
Brayden, go.
Um,
All right, I guess I'm last. California, right in San Francisco, baby.
Yay! What high school are you going to?
Oh, do you know? I go to Sacred Heart Cathedral.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
Catholic school. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's kind of random.
No, not
No.
random. Like, I went to high school in Cupertino and did athletics all that time. So we got to play
Oh, whoa.
all in the Central Coast section for different things, especially track. But you all and St. Ignatius, right, is still in there and
Oh my gosh, you're in with the San Francisco lore.
yeah, and oh my gosh, all my classmates would, oh my God, what is the name of that high school?
That is
Lowell.
incredible.
Lowell.
Oh my gosh, I got so many friends at Lowell. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, we're losing the Bruce 4-0 right now. So
oh no.
yeah.
I went to Cal. So like it's very
Oh
much,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're in the hood with us.
yeah.
That's so cool. I
I
love
love
discussing
it.
San Francisco lore with people.
Yeah, so it's my heart. And you probably came on later, but I had said earlier, Harvey Milk was my inspiration as a kid. I mean, like San Francisco was just, I mean, I'm from Sunnyvale, so it's essentially the same area, but not
Does
really.
North Carolina measure up?
Yeah, North Carolina's so different.
Yeah, I
So
imagine.
yeah. I'd love to continue these conversations one-on-one, if not, another group. I threw in my contact information in the chat. Ishan, if you want to intern or Paige, let me know. It's already, are you a junior or a senior?
I'm a junior. Yeah, I was thinking of applying to be a page, and I was also thinking of doing the governor's page thing.
Yeah, most definitely. It's probably not too late to do the governor page program.
Yeah, I
But
think it's rolling.
yes, but for us, we're already a little on the later side. And
Okay.
I recommend that you do a long session. All of you, make sure if you want to, see how this all comes to action, definitely page at your legislature or work with, your town councilors, your county commissions. And if you need an introduction, just let me know. I can help you out with that too.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
absolutely.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
know. Like,
I will be forwarding your contact information to I think everyone should probably have it. I definitely will be reaching out after to talk about a couple cool things. I think what you do with the North Carolina legislature is really cool. And it's really cool to actually get to know you over the course of this past hour. So thank you for that. But I don't want to take more of your evening, or maybe if you want to keep talking, if whatever's your preference, I guess. But I would like to close it out really quick. But thank you again for coming on. It was a great experience to talk to you.
yeah, thank you. It was my honor. This is what it's about. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course. Have a great rest of your evening.
All right, you too. Take good care. Look forward to hearing from all of you soon.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Representative.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.